Yellow Sea, 124 nautical miles west of the Korean peninsula. 1:17 p.m. clear skies. Hard afternoon sun. Perfect visibility. USS Ronald Reagan, CVN-76. Ride steady in a light chop. Escort screen space-wide. Radars painting the air for hundreds of miles. A single E-2D Hawkeye hangs at 24,000 feet, orbiting like a metronome. Everyone can see everything. Then North Korea launches 10 missiles on an ocean track that point straight at American ships. Not a drill, not a warning shot. 10 separate signatures blooming on the scope. And for the next 45 minutes, Pyongyang learns what it means to light a fuse in broad daylight. This is that story. 1:19 p.m. The first indications are infrared. 2 hot needles rising from the west coast near Nampo, then 8 more from the Kusong-Sinuja belt, staggered like a planned salvo. The heat plumes are visible for miles in the afternoon haze, tall enough to be seen by satellites watching from above. The Hawkeye calls it in clean and flat. 10 launches, multiple trajectories, mixed profiles. On the Aegis displays aboard USS Antietam, CD-54, and USS Robert Smalls, D-101, the tracks stitch themselves together in real time for low, fast sea skimmers. 6 high ballistic arcs, lofted to around 560 kilometers before bending back toward the water. The numbers are ugly. Mach 6.2 on the ballistic reentry. Mach 0.8 on the cruise legs. Closing fast, and the problem is distance. At 1:19 p.m., the closest projected intercept window is 173 kilometers out. That is not far. One decision gets made immediately. Weapons free. This is what happens when you threaten U.S. ships. 1:22 p.m. The kill chain tightens. USS Antietam pushes SPY-1DV to full power. Electronic support measures confirm emissions from North Korean coastal batteries. Search radars waking up, fire control radars probing. Try to watch the same sky the Americans already own. The carrier strike group's geometry matters now. Reagan sits inside a moving bubble. 2 Ticonderoga-class cruisers, 3 Arleigh Burke destroyers, 1 Virginia-class attack submarine running silent at 180 feet, an unseen trail of Piede Poseidon coverage staged from Kadena. Every asset is already in place, because that's how it works in the Western Pacific. North Korea believes the ocean makes this clean. Launch over water. No witnesses. No consequences. They are wrong. 1:25 p.m. The first intercept launches are visible even to the naked eye from the destroyer decks. White pencils of exhaust, rising in daylight. 4 SM-6S leave the rails, 2 from Antietam, 2 from Robert Smalls. Each one punches through 30,000 feet in seconds, guided by the Aegis net, fed by the Hawkeye, corrected by data link, hunting a target that thinks it's moving too fast to be caught. The cruise missiles skim at 35 to 50 meters above the waves, trying to hide and see clutter. In clear weather, the sea is a mirror and the radar returns are crisp. At 1:25 p.m., the first SM-6 meets a sea skimmer at 41 kilometers. The intercept is a flash, then a brief dirty cloud that hangs above the water like a bruise. 1 down. The second dies at 38 kilometers. 2 down. The third sea skimmer breaks apart at 44 kilometers. 3. The fourth tries to jink a last-second weave. The SM-6 does not care. 4. For cruise missiles eliminated. No leaks. No damage. No panic. But 6 ballistic tracks are still coming. And those are the ones North Korea wants you to remember. 1:29 p.m. Ballistic reentry starts to glow. Not metaphorically, physically. 6 warheads slam back into the atmosphere, turning air into fire. The Hawkeye sees it. The ships see it. The satellites see it. The glow is visible from 100 miles away. The American intercept plan changes in mid-flight. SM-3 is for high exoatmospheric kills. SM-6 can take terminal. The doctrine is layered, redundant, brutal. At 1:29 p.m., USS Antietam launches 3 SM-3 block II interceptors. USS Robert Smalls adds 2 more. 5 missiles, each costing more than the enemy's entire launch vehicle, because cost doesn't matter when the target is an aircraft carrier. The tracks converge at altitudes between 220 and 340 kilometers, and then the sky starts deleting things. 1 re-entry vehicle disappears in a cold flash at 1:32 p.m., another at 1:33 p.m., a third at 1:33 p.m., split so hard it leaves 2 fading fragments that fall harmlessly into the Pacific. 3 ballistic threats removed before they even get near the fleet. But 3 are still alive, and now the timeline compresses. What happened in the next 12 minutes becomes the difference between a provocation and an extinction-level mistake. 1:35 p.m. The remaining 3 warheads drop lower, faster, angrier. Their predicted splash points march toward the strike group's outer ring. Aegis shifts the terminal. SM-6 reloads are already queued. CIWS mount spin up, not because they expect to fire, but because they will fire they have to. At 1:36 p.m., the first terminal engagement begins. 2 SM-6 interceptors, 1 from Antietam, 1 from USS Higgins D-76, race upward to meet the incoming reentry vehicle at 27 kilometers altitude. The intercept is violent, a hard flash in broad daylight, followed by a black rain of debris that streaks into the sea. For ballistic threats down. At 1:38 p.m., the second reentry vehicle is killed at 24 kilometers, slightly closer than anyone likes, but still clean. 5. At 1:39 p.m., the last one tries something different, an erratic terminal maneuver meant to throw off prediction. It doesn't throw off the net. The net is a machine. The final SM-6 strikes at 19 kilometers. 6 ballistic threats eliminated. 10 North Korean missiles launched. 10 destroyed. 0 American damage. And now the other half of the story starts. Because the moment those 10 launches happen, North Korea exposes the entire architecture behind them. Launch points, command relays, radar activations, communication spikes, logistics convoys, every signature that modern sensors love. And it's all happening under clear skies, in the afternoon sun, with nothing to hide behind. 1:41 p.m. The response is not a debate. It is an execution checklist. Aboard the carrier, the strike cell locks and targets. The Coastal Missile Regiment near Nampo, the suspected Canton 3 support park near Kusong, a communications hub outside Pyongyang, and a radar node on the ridgeline above Haeju. The intention is simple: remove the ability to repeat the act. The 6th Fleet Commander's guidance is 2 lines, transmitted and acknowledged. Cripple the launch complex. Blind the air defense. Sever command. Never threaten America. 1:44 p.m. 2 F/A-1AT Super Hornets launch first, not for bombs, but for eyes. Each carries an FLIR pod and a pair of AGM-8AT ARGM anti-radiation missiles. Behind them come the real strike. 4 F-35CS from Carrier Air Wing 5, each loaded with 2 GBU-53/B Stormbreaker precision glide bombs and internal AM-120S for self-defense. They climb through 15,000 feet, then 25,000, then level at 31,000. carving a line toward the Korean coast that is visible on every radar screen that still dares to transmit. North Korea watches them coming. That is the point. The visibility is a weapon now. This is Operation Clear Ledger. 1:49 p.m. North Korea makes its first catastrophic mistake. It turns on too many radars at once. It believes the electromagnetic wall will stop stealth aircraft. Instead, it lights itself up like the city grid. The ARGMs lock instantly, homing on emissions that are now cleanly identified. Search radars, engagement radars, acquisition arrays. At 1:49 p.m., the first AGM-8AT drops, then ignites, then streaks inland at near Mach 2. 38 seconds later, the first radar sight dies in a white flash on a ridgeline. The plume is visible for miles. The second ARGM follows, killing a fire control radar near Haeju. That one leaves a thicker column, blacker, heavier, fuel and electronics burning together. Air defense begins to go blind, and the F-35S crossed the coastline anyway. 1:52 p.m. The second catastrophic mistake. North Korea keeps its mobile launchers clustered near their support vehicles. It does this for security, for control, for political oversight. It creates a perfect target. Stormbreaker bombs separate in pairs, gliding on wings, riding GPS and imaging infrared, each one hunting a vehicle signature like a predator with a file photo. At 1:52 p.m., 8 GBU-53S go in. The first 4 hit the Nampo coastal launch area. One transport erector launcher snapped like a matchstick. 2 support trucks shredded. A command van flattened into the dirt. The second 4 hit Kusong. 2 tails destroyed, 1 fueler gone, 1 warhead handling shelter collapsed. Explosions in broad daylight. Clear visibility. No hiding. This is what happens when you bet your regime on missiles. 1:57 p.m. The third catastrophic mistake. Pyongyang routes all real-time authorization through a centralized communications backbone. 1 backbone, 1 throat. At 1:57 p.m., a Piete Poseidon, already on station, releases an AGM-84H SLMER from 22,000 feet, 96 kilometers offshore. The missile's wings snap open. It flies low, then climbs slightly to acquire, then dives again, guided by data link updates. Target: the relay compound north of Pyongyang, tied into fiber and microwave, the kind of place that doesn't make speeches but makes orders possible. Impact is at 2:06 p.m. The compound becomes a crater with a burning perimeter. The command flow fractures. And in militaries like North Korea's, when control fractures, everything below it freezes. 2:03 p.m. The fourth catastrophic mistake. They attempt a show of force scramble in daylight. Formigitunen-S lift off from Suncheon Air Base, climbing hard, trying to look like they can contest the air. Their engines are visible as bright dots against the blue. They never get close. At 2:03 p.m., 2 F-35CS fire AM-130 missiles from beyond visual range, well outside the MiG's comfortable engagement envelope. The first MiG disappears at 2:04 p.m. The second at 2:04 p.m., the debris trail arcing down like a broken flare. The remaining 2 turn away and dive for home, dumping altitude so fast their contrails shear. They survive because the goal isn't dogfighting. The goal is crippling, and crippling is happening on the ground. 2:08 p.m. The fifth catastrophic mistake. North Korea keeps its ammunition and fuel in fixed depots near railheads for speed of distribution. Those depots are now targets. A second wave arrives. 2 more Super Hornets, each carrying a pair of GBU-31 dams. One EA-1AG Growler rides with them, flooding the spectrum with jamming, turning North Korean communications into static. The dams hit a fuel depot outside Nampo at 2:08 p.m. The detonation is larger, slower, uglier. A fireball rolls upward and then steadies into a column. That smoke is visible from space. And everyone knows it. 2:14 p.m. The sixth catastrophic mistake. Pyongyang believes the United States will stop at interception to avoid escalation. Instead, the response is calibrated to remove capability, not to send a message. At 2:14 p.m., a submerged Virginia-class boat launches 4 Tomahawk land attack missiles. You never see the submarine. You only see the consequence. The Tomahawks fly 35 to 50 meters above the sea, then inland at low altitude, using terrain contour matching, slipping through gaps created by the earlier radar kills. Targets: an air defense sector operation centered near Pyongyang's outskirts, a missile storage revetment near Kusong, a power substation feeding a military command zone, and the rail transshipment yard that moves launch vehicles at night. Impacts roll in from 2:22 p.m. to 2:26 p.m. for separate pillars of smoke, spaced like punctuation marks. Then everything changes. Because once those nodes go dark, the regime's internal security machine starts to eat itself. Units stop receiving orders. Patrols stop coordinating. Radar crews abandon positions. Fuel trucks turn around. Communications officers shred paper. The system collapses under its own rigidity. 2:28 p.m. The coast is quiet now, but the sky is still full of American aircraft. At 2:28 p.m., the Hawkeye reports no new launch preparations, no radar emissions, no coastal vehicle movement beyond small convoys scattering inland. The strike group doesn't celebrate. It watches, and it keeps the pressure. This is force projection, not revenge. This is what happens when your opponent understands your entire battlefield faster than you understand your own. 2:33 p.m. A final precision strike closes the loop. 2 F-35CS release 4 more GBU-53S onto a hardened launcher shelter near Nampo, an earth-covered bunker with steel doors designed to survive near misses. Stormbreaker is built for that. It doesn't need a direct hit on the door. It needs a kill in the right place. The bombs arrive. The earth jumps. The steel doors buckle. The shelter collapses inward. The site goes silent. By 2:35 p.m., the operational capacity to fire another 10 missiles on that coast is gone. Crippled. And it took 45 minutes from the first launch. If you're still here, you already know this isn't just a missile story. This is a timing story. 2:38 p.m. Across North Korea's coastal belt, air defense radars remain dark. Not because they're all destroyed, but because the crews understand what on means now. On means you die. The afternoon sun keeps shining. The visibility stays perfect. The smoke columns keep rising, clearly visible for miles, marking out the destroyed nodes like a map anyone can read. Inside Pyongyang, the regime is still intact in the political sense. But militarily, the Western missile architecture is shattered, and the world just watched the timeline compress. Launch, intercept, retaliation, disable. All in one continuous hour under clear skies. Never do this to America. 2:44 p.m. The carrier strike group turns slightly, maintaining distance, maintaining posture, maintaining options. The message has already landed. The kill chain proved itself in public. The response proved itself in daylight. The cost of provocation is now measurable in craters and burning depots. And that is the only kind of measurement that matters in Pyongyang. 2:52 p.m. The final damage assessment begins. Sensors confirm 8 destroyed TEL-class vehicles across 2 clusters. 2 radar sites eliminated. 1 communications relay cratered. 1 sector operations center destroyed. 1 rail yard heavily damaged. 1 fuel depot burning uncontrolled. American casualties, 0 killed. 2 sailors treated for minor blast overpressure exposure from the terminal intercept debris field. Both returned to duty. North Korean casualties, 387 confirmed dead across the strike nodes, 1,120 wounded, and 2,640 personnel rendered combat ineffective due to loss of command and logistics, because modern war doesn't just kill people, it deletes systems. Total American victory. This is what happens when you light missiles in broad daylight. 3:06 p.m. The aircraft return. Recovery cycles run like clockwork. The deck crews never stop moving. No speeches. No celebration. Just a routine of a force that expects to be challenged and is built to answer. The smoke still rises on the horizon, and the Pacific remains calm as if none of it happened. But it did, and every military planner in the region rewrites a paragraph in their head after watching that 45-minute compression, because they now understand a real lesson. The first strike is not the strike. The response is a strike. Remember that. 3:18 p.m. A final signal goes out through diplomatic channels. It is short. It is cold. It does not negotiate. Any further launches will be treated as a continuing attack. That is the line. And in the afternoon sun, with everything visible, that line is unmistakable. Never threaten American ships. Never. Now watch what happens the next time someone tries. 3:41 p.m. Recap starts clean because the timeline matters. 1:17 p.m. Clear skies over the Yellow Sea. USS Ronald Reagan on station. Radar sweeping, perfect visibility. 1:19 p.m. 10 North Korean missiles launch. For sea skimmers, 6 ballistic arcs. Signatures visible for miles. 1:25 p.m. SM-6 intercepts erase all 4 crews' threats over open water. Debris splashing harmlessly into the sea. 1:29 p.m. SM-3 block IIA kills 3 ballistic threats in mid-course, high above the atmosphere. 1:36 p.m. terminal SM-6 engagements destroy the last 3 reentry vehicles at 27, 24, and 19 kilometers. 1:41 p.m. American response begins. SC-80 stealth strike, precision kill chain. 1:49 p.m. AGM-AT ARGM wipes North Korean radar nodes. Air defense goes blind. 1:52 p.m. 8 GBU-53 Stormbreakers destroy cluster TELs and support vehicles in Nampo and Kusong. 2:06 p.m. AGM-84H SLMER craters the relay backbone north of Pyongyang. Command authorization fractures. 2:22 p.m. For Tomahawks arrive from the sea, deleting operation centers, depots, rail movement nodes. 2:35 p.m. final bunker strike. Collapses hardened launch shelter. American losses, 0 killed, 2 minor injuries. North Korean losses, 387 dead, 1,120 wounded. Western missile capability crippled, logistics severed. Radar network silenced. Total ordnance deployed. 4 SM-6 anti-cruise, 5 SM-3, 3 SM-6 terminal, 2 AGM-8AT, 12 GBU-53, 2 GBU-31, 1 AGM-84H for Tomahawk. The strategic lesson is permanent. You don't test America with missiles in daylight. You don't gamble your regime on a launch that can be traced, targeted, and erased in under an hour. Subscribe for more operations like this. Follow for the next case study where timing becomes a weapon. And remember the rule that ends wars before they start. Never threaten America. Never.